Okay, so today I'm going to quickly make a video, well hopefully a quick video, about installing Pop! OS so you can play Overwatch, or more so just in general how to install and set up Linux for gaming. So we'll dive into it very shortly, but pretty much it's just going to cover a few basics. I'm going to explain stuff as I go, try not to cram too much in, and just show the basics. One quick note at the very beginning to note though, the Blizzard launcher appears to fail in the virtual machine. So I can get you up to the point of showing you installing, but expect it to crash in this video because obviously it's a virtual machine and it doesn't have half of the actual emulation it should at the moment, e.g. the graphics will probably be what's triggering it. But otherwise I'll show you at the end of the video it working on mine. So before we dive into creating the virtual machine, which is what I'll be showing you on, let's just pop up Chrome and show a few little basic items that we want to go through before anything else. First one is obviously Pop! OS. That's the one we're going to be using today for the demo. Reason being is it will be the simplest. It won't require to be in the command line except for one stage of it, which is the final step, installing the performance kernel, which I'll probably do before Lutris and bottles. Otherwise, yeah, it allows you to install most things via the UI these days. Perfect for beginners, one I'd recommend. Now, for anyone who has already done this, has an idea, or just wants to spend a bit more time on it, or comes back to it later, I then would recommend you go with Debian. Reason being is Pop! OS is based on Ubuntu, and Ubuntu is based upon Debian. So think of the extra bulk you're getting that's been modified and cut out. Pop! OS also isn't a gaming kernel or best gaming kernel straight out of the box, but it is the easiest distro to use for this demo. Anyway, that's that. So that's Debian, Pop! OS. One other thing with Pop! OS, when you go and download it, and this is why I also recommend it, you have the choice of the NVIDIA download. So when you create an ISO, you're going to choose either the LTS or the NVIDIA. LTS is long-term service. Basically means it will be supported for a few years from when it was released, or generally they are. And Raspberry Pi, if by chance someone wants to test that. I highly doubt you'd be playing Overwatch, but who knows what performance it would get out of blast settings. So I've downloaded this one for the demo, but again, performance is going to be shit because it's a virtual machine. To also get that ISO onto a USB key that's going to boot correctly, it's not just simply a case of extracting onto the USB key. Some BIOSes might handle that, but long story short, you want to try one of these two. Basically Rufus or Berliner Etcher, I believe it's pronounced. These ones will grab the ISO, let you select the USB key and boot. Now I can't remember if they both work for Linux and only one works for Windows or the other way around, but one of those two will do the job. And the other part that we're going to be doing is obviously Lutris and bottles. Now bottles is probably a more recommended way. Sorry, that music had a decision to jump up on its own. Not sure why. Yeah, bottles is a newer, better GUI. Basically, it'll feel more friendly to you to use. So I'll go through that one first. It probably will take a little bit longer than Lutris. But basically these, yeah, easiest way to summarize it. Easily run Windows software on Linux. And this will be Lutris, which is a game launcher similar to Bottles, but is all about supporting a bigger realm of games, hence all the emulators and that. So let's dive in. Now I do apologize about the resolution being where it is, but I guess the whole point is, you know, I don't want to shrink it down too much. And yeah, so a name for it, I've already downloaded the ISO like I said. I'm just using my local directory. So obviously Linux. Now here you would select Ubuntu because that's the closest distro. I could go Debian, but if you got Fedora, etc, etc. We want 64-bit, and if I'm not mistaken, 600. No, that from memory is 16 gig exactly. We'll create a hard drive, and I'm going to allocate 100 gig. These all have different performance factors technically, and compatibility levels. Stuff you can Google. This here will take longer, will take the size instantly, but will be quick later on for performance. This will be slightly slower, but won't take as long at the start, so we're using that. And there's our basic virtual machine. We're going to set up a few performance options. Well, not many, but processor, for example, we want to put up. Can enable these ones, so I could go through virtualization, etc, but blah. That's fine. It should use KVM in my case. And yeah, see, this is going to be our restriction with the Blizzard. I'm pretty sure it checks your hardware when it's installing, or it does something funky. Screw it, let's try that one. Maybe not. And that's about it, apart from mounting your ISO. So choose a disk and file when you need to. There's that one. And we're good to go. Nothing else needs to be done. So I'll start this up. Get rid of you. Now, you may see errors popping up here. See all okay. See it red in a minute probably. Or maybe not. Ignore that. It could be the virtual machine not having obviously all the drivers, and some services just don't boot because they don't have things available, etc. You will see it, but that's the point of Linux, is to know what's going on. You won't have to worry about this necessarily on yours, but because I'm in a virtual machine, it hasn't picked up a monitor. It's just using what, you know, it knows to use. And for this purpose, let's see what that looks like. Yep. That should hopefully allow people to zoom in a bit if they need to as well. So, this is what we call a live distro. I'm trying to go through this quickly, but I want to cover some basics and, you know, keep it somewhat balanced. A live distro allows you to boot off the USB key, or CD in the old days, and test the system without actually having to install it. Now, before you go past this point, I'd like to make sure that you've only got one hard drive on your computer, and that's the one that you plan on installing Linux on. Your Windows drive, your storage drives, any other writable medias, disconnect or remove. This way you won't fuck up, and you will only have the one hard drive to install on. You know, as you get confident time, then you can, you know, do what you need to. But for now, play it safe, obviously. So, obviously English. I am Australia. Test the keyboard if you need to. Generally, you want to check some of your special characters. Now, at this point, if I was to click try demo, all it will do is hide this and allow me to use the desktop without it. So for example, I can browse the internet while I'm installing, which we'll do. So we'll bring up Google, and I can type, you know, so all you've done is booted off a USB key, bang, this has come up effectively. It allows you to trial it. You can see what's installed at the moment, obviously not much. You'd have to double check with me, but I believe if you install a app through it, it may install to the USB key and take up more space, or it may not be there when you reboot. Not too sure. I'm not going to try. Anyway, if you choose later on, you can learn how to do your partitioning, similar to Windows, just more options, you know, and all that sort of crap. So we're doing a clean install. We only have the one hard drive, like I advise, but it does make it obvious and easy. So we can use this whole hard drive and let it do its own auto partitioning. Username as usual. Password, in this case test, so I don't forget. Now, encryption, blah, have a read if you want. So you will get a slight performance on read and write speeds, but I'm going to leave it on for now. And that's it. That's all it takes to install Linux. Other distros will have more steps, some may even have less steps, because you can get streamline installs that will effectively just, you know, you say this hard drive, bang, it goes. So we'll let that sit for a minute. And at the 10-minute mark, we've already got it pretty much going with a bit of me talking crap. And you can watch the terminal as well, by the looks of it. Speaking of that, the terminal. When it comes to, obviously this isn't going to show, there. This just hasn't scrolled to the bottom. I should have done that from the start. That, or it's not auto scrolling. There we go. Anyway, regardless, the whole idea of a terminal on Linux and showing it during the boot up and throughout various processes is if you know something goes wrong. You know, I can watch this and see an error pop up, etc. Go back and check it. You know, warning grub, blah. I'm not worried about that because I'm used to the process. It's generating it. See, can't find it, so it creates it. Basically, when you're booting into your computer, if it's Windows, yeah, you got a splash screen, same as you can do on Linux if you want. But if something goes wrong and it freezes, you know what line it froze on, and you know where the error was. You know, it's that sort of thing. You know exactly in the boot process of what went wrong. You can type in dmessage, find out what went wrong. For example, if I am not mistaken, well, I need to sudo it, but I'm not gonna because I'm not sure about the password on this one until I reboot. But yeah. So anyway, let's go. Now I have to reset the resolution because that was the live boot, not the hard drive install. So now it's the hard drive. Now this distro seems to ask for the encryption key every time you open it up. I'm sure there's a setting or Google or anything for that. I'm just not going to bother covering it. How at the end of the day, if you're only playing this for Overwatch, then you probably don't care about typing in your password one extra time. And at a guess, this will probably get around those login issues that people are having. Okay. First thing before, because we want to see everything. Again, you won't have to do this. I'm just doing it because it's in a VM. And performance sucks because it's a VM. Now, you got your doc types, so we can go blah, blah. I'll go this one. So, you know, you got your nice setup guide as well. Simple, but effective. I'll let you all explore this, and obviously laptop gestures, dark mode, privacy off, and we're going to select a random time zone. I'm not going to add any accounts at the moment, but you can if you want. And bang, Pop! OS is installed in 14 minutes with me talking crap before and afterwards. Yeah, that's technically almost ready to go. You only got a few little steps left now. Very first one we'll get running in the background because it will take a little bit of time and we should be able to do it while it's operating is the kernel. Sorry, I'm going to try to time this stuff now. So, I suggest people Google things, don't always take my word for it because I could be some random guy, well I am some random guy on the internet that giving you bullshit advice. This could be a whole fake video, you know, it could be a ploy. So use Google, use your brain, take time, research, whatever feels best. Pop! OS, here we go, gaming kernel. And this one, I believe, is probably obviously the best recommended. This is where you're going to need the command line. So it's not the end of the world. We'll minimize that for a minute. We'll bring it up over here. And we'll do what we need to as we do. And I'll quickly explain the commands as we go. So a distro update, as in that will update repositories. To skip some time on this, sudo learn what it means, learn when to use it. I'm not going to explain it anymore, but take your time to learn it, when you should use it. It's a master command. You can fuck your system with that, knowing what you're doing. Don't need to update, don't need to upgrade at the moment. I'm skipping through all the unrequired steps. So this here will do, it'll place this string into this file. I believe at the end of it or something. I can't remember what T does off the top of my head. Effectively what this is going to do is tell your Debian based distro that web address has releases on the main branch available for software. Once we've done that, I'm not going to worry about confirming it's in there. I trust that. We need to then grab the key from them, security key, and basically tell it to add this key for this repo. That way we've signed it. That's done, and now is when we do the update. And that will, if you pay attention, see the deb xmod somewhere, possibly. Yep. That's been added and it's fetched it. So at this point, that software is available to it. Now, all we got to do here is install the stable version. And you'll see what it's going to grab, what it needs to use, etc. What it's got to download, how much space. And that's it. That's your kernel installation going. After this, you'll need to reboot to activate it, basically. Beyond that, other stuff I can go into. So that's the kernel done, or going. We'll leave him there, and we're going to go to the App Store. Actually, tell a lie, there is one other thing I'll add in there later. We will enable the 32-bit support for Steam completely, but we'll do that when it's ended. I'll just keep it open so I don't forget. Not now. So we go pop OS install Steam. Generally, you just go to the guide of the distro. Now, they recommend doing it via the pop shop, sorry. You do it via the command line. It's not so scary. Effectively, you're just doing that there. Don't worry about the search. It just shows you how to find something that's in there. And if we go down from memory, nope. There was a 32-bit line I need. I recommend it just in case. Now that's Steam done already. No, wait. That was just having to pop up. Screw it. There we go. That's what I was after. This line here is what you want, which we can put in now. So that basically enables the 32-bit architecture, packages, etc. on your OS. I could be mistaken on the exact details, but we are done on that now. Steam's done. So if we were to open Steam, my local system's picking up my keyboard. Now, just a quick explanation of this one here, because you will see it obviously. The udev rules, which are, if I'm not mistaken, are user device rules. As it says, don't seem to be installed. Basically, you've got to either run possibly a package from them, a script, or as their wiki will probably say, you edit a file and you add a listing of devices if you need them. You'll find that information online. I'm not going to waste time further on it. In the meantime, if you're not using a controller or if it doesn't work, then you'll go for, sorry, if it doesn't work, then you go check that out. Try in the meantime, you might be surprised. Additional hardware does need unlocking at times because of security. That's the whole point of it. Now while that's running, let's grab bottles. And Lutris. See, all available through the UI. I personally do them at times through, you know, some like Flatpak just to make sure. You know, obviously you'll find Discord and all that sort of stuff as well. Now we just got to wait for those to install. I'm not mistaken, I can probably check the progress. Yep, still. So as you can see, Steam's doing its update. You will have to agree to a terms and conditions. Windows seems to automatically agree to that, or it just doesn't have it, but Linux you have to agree. Maybe it's to do with Proton. Now I'm not going to bother logging in on here, but what I will do is pull up my Steam window in the meantime, especially while this is going. So, for anything know, that is your Steam installed. So if you go to run it, it will work. Done. That's Steam. So quickly, we'll cover that one. Now, let's just say you've installed a game like this one I purchased today while it was on special. What you want to do is go into your settings, go to Steam Play, and turn on this. This Steam Play settings option will basically allow you to run Proton versions against games. So once that's enabled, you can set a global version there if you want. But in general, go to your cog, go to properties, and you'll have a compatibility tab. And in there, you can force a version. Start at experimental, 7, then 6. If they don't work, then you want to go to protondb.com, search a game and see what people have done to get the game working. You can install these using a program called Proton Up, but that will come in time if you need to. Otherwise, that's about it. And so sometimes you may need to put a few command line options there depending on the game with tweaks. In time, that stuff will disappear because it'll be more and more automatic. Otherwise, that will cover the Steam side of stuff for now. So, bottles, we'll start with you. Now, bottles is the easier one. Again, I don't expect the Blizzard one to work correctly once it's doing its install, but in the meantime, I'll show you what bottles does offer as well. And I know I keep opening it, but it's habit. Linux bottles. Nah, didn't find the link, but it's up the top. So you go to apps. You'll see you've got the Epic Store, Ubisoft, Steam, Origin, blah, 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 blah. So Steam, well, I'd rather use the native install, not a bottled version. And I'm sure there's more, but they're the most common, I'm guessing. Either way, that's what you've got on offer. Just an intro. Wants to add more stuff. At this point, I might start Lutris if it's installed, but leave it waiting in the background. It's got things to prepare as well. Now there's only one step left for these two things, and that's everything done. That's to install CAF 718. Once that's done, you can install Blizzard and then install the game, and you're good to go from that point. You shouldn't need to do anything else, not with this distro, because it already will do your video card drivers for you. Okay. Obviously they were both waiting on the same thread for some reason. So Lutris can go down. Bottles, the first thing we want to do is add our CAF. So we go runners, CAF 18, or 718. This is the one that people seem to be having great success with Overwatch versus Windows. I haven't had it run on anything else but CAF 718 myself. Anything else crashed exactly like it was Windows. This one I feel like has been specifically made for Overwatch, or was, you know, just, yeah, a category of the same issue. So now that's done, we go and create a bottle. We'll call it Blizzard, because that's what the launcher will be in there. It's a gaming type. This will take a little bit to set up, because it's got to, you know, pre-configure its wine prefix. Now this all uses wine, which is, I can't remember what the acronym is, but basically it's not an emulator. It uses layers, which I guess replace instructions and calls, don't actually emulate them. So e.g. libraries are rewritten to handle all these calls, if I'm not mistaken. That's why the performance is so fucking great. You know, some games just run better than what they do on Windows. I think even Overwatch 2 apparently runs better on the Steam Deck over Windows on average. And that's, you know, a limited device. Obviously you're comparing, but if you had similar hardware, yeah, Linux has less bulk, has less crap in the background. You know, there are specialized uses where you're going to be stuck with Windows, but these days most things are running. If people jump on board more, the ecosystem will actually shift to native games, or games that are compatible across both. You know, Unity, for example, that has the ability to make native games for Linux. You know, supports consoles, etc., etc. It's not hard necessarily to make a game cross-system or cross-platform, but the problem is Windows. The whole system is tainted because of it. Alright, so we have our library now. We go into our installers and we download Blizzard Battle. Now, at this point, I will point out, is where it will probably screw up. So from this point, you would install it, then you would launch it, and you would install Overwatch, and then just hit play as normal. You don't need to do any other settings at this point. Well, I myself haven't personally, but you do have the option to turn off your F-Sync, E-Sync, all that sort of crap. So let's test it. First sign of looking like it's not moving properly, I'm just going to can it and jump straight onto Lutris. Now, I will minimize that for a moment because it's doing its thing. And while that's going, I will show you my local Lutris. Now, Bottles doesn't seem to have it. My Lutris does. I don't know if others do. Every so often when I launch this, it doesn't run, so you just got to stop and start it. But otherwise, she should behave. Yep. Now, I'm going to drag her over once my details are off the screen. Or have it remember to come up there instead. Launches, for some reason, because they're coded like crap, run like crap. Oh, there you go. Looks like the game needs an update, if I'm not mistaken. But I'll do all that later. Point is, she works, and she's been reliable as everything possible. So that's my Lutris. It will stop automatically. It's just the agent.exe. Takes a little while to kill itself. So you kill it if you're not syncing the game, or just manually kill it. But I'm sure if we come back later, or just leave that there for a few seconds, she'll be gone. Yeah, see. So now we'll just see how this goes for a little bit. And we could probably do a little bit of Lutris steps while we're waiting. Actually, what was that? This is the part here, it jammed right here. So yeah, that fails for some reason in the virtual machine. I'm pretty sure it's a hardware detection or some crap like that. Unless the network was down. Anyway, I'd rather show a complete working version, so I'll let it go. Sorry, this was not scripted in any sense. I just figured, no, I'll download it and show you how easy it is. People treat it like a dark art or something, but it's just another operating system. I don't know. Yes, it's got a nerd name to it, but that's because it's useful. It's good at what it does. You know, there's, yeah. Alright, so that actually worked this time around. Must have been the network last time, which is Blizzard. So, if we go back here, we have our BattleNet. Start from scratch though. And actually continue this. So at this point it will want me to log in. I believe that will just keep going until I type. So let's just put a dummy where it times out. Either way, yep, see. Alright, so basically you have your bottles app. And I can see where I'm going. And this is, by the way, done. You'll just install it, which I can't do because I'm not going to log in with my credentials. Now, does that fetch every time? I believe that's a check of packages each time. So, go into your bottle, and if you, depending on the type of game, sometimes it will show the actual game launcher and you can just launch it directly. Otherwise, I'll launch battle.net. I believe they're both the same app, it's just the process names. And here you would log in or auto log in like it would normally. Install the game. When it installs, it will ask for a Windows type directory that's inside of your wine prefix, which is set up wherever you've got it configured to do it locally. So that's bottles done. Lutris. So with Lutris, first step you want to do is go to runners, wine, and this little manage versions. And see this nicely named Overwatch 2. This is what makes me think that it's specifically for this. And that's the one I'm running. Now, where's your level of Windows dedication and support in the community like that? Sorry, but the Linux community, they're made of developers. Not all of them. Obviously, there's a lot of general users, but you know, people learn, they like to develop, etc. Or just, yeah. And that's that done. So from memory, I now go to. Sorry, it's been a while since I've done mine. Not runners, no. It's not that. Not that. Sorry, it's been a while. Let me just click on mine. Alright, let's just search it. It's easier. This is the whole point of it after all. That's alright, that's the easier way of doing it. Just do this, what I'm doing. So that will be the actual directory where your junk will go, e.g. what's going to use your space. And then inside of that, when you install it, we'll see it as a C drive. So we want that, that, and that if we wanted to. And let it go. Otherwise, that is a pretty much all the steps it takes to install Linux. Put Steam on it, get 64 and 32-bit games, native and non-native running on it, combined with how to install Battle.net, or for example any of the others, Epic, etc., using bottles of Lutris, and on top of that, the ability to run Overwatch 2 reliably. I'm not guaranteeing it's going to work for everyone, Overwatch 2, but at the end of the day, those who have done it, it's proven to get rid of the issues that they've been having. But as you can see, certain ones have got certain downloads that they come with, etc. Different mirrors, so download speeds will vary. But for the sake of finishing it, I'm finishing it. So we'll let this one go. Otherwise, that's really going to be about it. Hopefully that's, been of some help to some people. Things like these stores, which Ubuntu is famous for having, just makes life easy. So yeah. Otherwise, I do hope to see a few more players on Overwatch 2, because the problem is we've got a lot of rage quitters on there at the moment. A lot of one-sided matches where you go into a room, you're doing a backfill, you hit tab, you look at the scoreboard, and you see that one team has, 10, 12 kills on average across each player, and your team has 0-0-0-1 or something like that. Now, as for distros, yeah, you have multiple choices. Let's just have a quick look while we're waiting, because each one has a different purpose, technically. Now, a distro can come about from the slightest change. So if you were to change just what window manager it's using, that could be a new distro if it doesn't already have one out there with identical setup. And there's not too much to really stop someone from making a new one. So let's go top gaming distros 2022, because it knows what I'm talking about. And we'll see what we get. No surprise, Pop OS. And that's the main reason I'm recommending it. You should be able to install it and just go. Ubuntu, it's the most famous almost, but it's bulked up. It doesn't take privacy as serious. Like, they bring advertisements into your search just like Windows have done. We'll wait on that. Kubuntu is a lightweight version, if I'm not mistaken. And that's just because I kept bringing it into focus while browsing. The Blizzard install I blame for that, even though I'm not doing that yet. Alright, so now we did the Battle.net. Download that. So the first part was the wine version that needed. Linux Mint. That one's sort of a cleanish version, a little minimal. I'd put that in the medium class of heavy to light. Manjaro, not really actually used or bothered to read up on. Apparently good driver support, you know. Not sure of that one. I'm surprised no one mentions Debian, but at the end of the day, yeah. I personally prefer Debian because, again, it's the base one that a lot of them are based off of. See, not all of those are, but yeah. Shit, forgot about that one. Now, Arch Linux is the one that you would do when you want to customize it from the start and have to do every step from the start when it comes to installing, and that means manually doing your hardware, drivers, etc. The whole idea of Arch Linux is, I guess, a learning experience at the same time as, you know, building and customizing your own setup so you have no extra junk. But, you know, people may get better performance out of this in general because it doesn't burn out your hardware as much. You know, it's not as loaded. Your system will run lighter, and you'll also have more control. Now, if this works, that definitely means that their servers are shit at times. Or if it fails, even same, because earlier I tried testing it and it just broke. Now, the good thing about Lutris is obviously you can add a lot of different launchers. One place to run all your games as opposed to opening Steam manually, etc., etc. Yeah. I guess to me that's technically their purpose. Yeah, they could be doing maintenance at the moment, so it's something I didn't check. I might have just fluked the other install. Anyway, I'm going to cancel this one here because you saw my Lutris. Once that's installed, you would have your icon available in there, same as you saw the 3 on mine. Because it's might as well wrap this up here anyway. Let's just can it the manual way. Done. So yeah, here you would have your games, etc. Otherwise, just to confirm, if you were to reboot, which yes, you've got a menu, but I like to speed it up a little bit because it now actually makes it just slightly quicker. Your kernel will be engaged or enabled, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, that's about it. Now, obviously, this VM isn't the nicest thing at times. Maybe I was a bit too forceful. So screw it. Either way, that's the process to set up Linux. As I was saying, every time it does this encryption, so it's up to you if you want to try another distro, whatever you want. So yeah, I'm going to leave it there. Hopefully this is of use to someone. Basically, it's 2022. You know, computers have come a long way. There's SteamOS, which is based off of now Arch Linux. It was based off of Debian 9. The community's out there. It's happening. Games are very, very viable and very reliable on Linux these days. So, you know, grab a spare hard drive if you've got one and give it a test. You might be surprised. Otherwise, I'll leave you on that note to think. Thanks again. Catch ya.